Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I rise to provide a contribution on behalf of the Liberal Party, the opposition to this condolence motion that the Premier has moved. Mr Speaker, Jennifer Cashmore was a trailblazer of South Australian politics. In 1977, she was elected as the member for Coles, which is now the seat of Morialta. She was just the third woman elected to the House of Assembly in South Australia's history, and at the time she was the only female Member of Parliament. During her time in Parliament, Jennifer Cashmore was renowned for her attention to detail, her passionate advocacy for a range of causes that were close to her heart, a strong sense of social justice, a commitment to her local electorate, and perhaps she became best known for her passion for the natural environment in South Australia. In 1979, she became South Australia's second ever female minister when she was appointed Minister for Health and Tourism in the Tonkin government. She built a strong reputation as a minister who was always across her briefs, and one of her biggest achievements during the Tonkin government was the passing of the Radiation Protection and Control Bill after an all-night sitting of Parliament. You might be asking what the significance of this bill was, given it sounds relatively administrative in nature. And in fact, when we took it through the House in 2021 to refresh that legislation, it was by now highly administrative in nature. However, when Ms Cashmore took it through this place, this was legislation of national importance, because it helped enable the establishment of the Olympic Dam mine. We all now know the critical importance of that mine to our state's economy, but at that time it was of course a hotly contested issue. The Labour opposition had opposed it, and with numbers in the House in a knife edge, it was Minister Cashmore's sensible handling of the issue which was critical to the legislation passing. The rest, of course, is history, but without Minister Cashmore and the work that she did alongside Deputy Premier and Minister for Mines Roger Goldsworthy, the Olympic Dam mine might never have eventuated, and this state would be far poorer for it. While in the scheme of our state's history, Jennifer Cashmore's time as a minister was relatively short, with the Tonkin government being defeated in 1982, Ms Cashmore continued to serve as a Member of Parliament for a further 11 years until 1993. During this time, she had some notable achievements despite occupying the opposition benches in shadow portfolios including the environment and planning, the arts and the economy, shadow treasurer. She led work in world-leading end-of-life reform, which led to new palliative care laws in South Australia. And as a result, tens of thousands of people in this state have been able to access palliative care to ease pain towards the end of their lives. Jennifer Cashmore was well known for her advocacy on environmental causes, a passion that I certainly share with her. She took strong and effective stances on development in the Flinders Ranges, opposing a luxury resort that was proposed for Wilpena Pound. Her opposition to this plan included threatening to stand in front of bulldozers and even writing a poem which was subsequently turned into a song. She was known and called the green conscience of the South Australian Liberal Party, and certainly paved the way for the party that I lead today to be involved in sensible, centre-right conservation and environmentalism. As Shadow Treasurer in 1989, as the Premier has mentioned, Jennifer Cashmore was the first to raise questions about the financial mismanagement taking place at the State Bank. At the time, she was criticised by business, the banking industry and other politicians for undermining confidence in the lending institution. Despite the resistance, Jennifer kept probing, asking more than 200 questions on the issue in State Parliament. In just 2 years, her fears were realised, with the 1991 financial collapse of the State Bank that lost $3.15 billion in government-guaranteed funds. Of course, the collapse of the bank devastated South Australia's economy and business confidence and hobbled our recovery from the 1990s recession. In May 1992, Jennifer Cashmore unsuccessfully challenged for the Liberal leadership, and after losing that ballot, decided to retire at the following year's election. After leaving Parliament, she remained highly active in the community, especially in the areas of health and well-being, and again, environmentalism. She served on the Ministerial Advisory Board of Ageing, was the chair of the South Australian Association for Hospice and Palliative Care, and was the patron of the Alzheimer's Association of South Australia. Jennifer was a proud family woman, first married to Ian and later to Stuart. She had 3 children: Stuart, a leading theologian; Christine, a New South Wales Supreme Court judge; and of course, Her Excellency, the Honourable Francis Adamson AC. At Jennifer's funeral last week, I was impressed to learn that despite the relatively busy life that she led and the very busy lives that her children lead in a modern world, she wrote to them almost every week and was in regular communication with them by telephone. Mr. Speaker, I only met Jennifer Cashmore once, and that was at the rally out on the steps of this House into the government's proposed changes to the South Australian Museum. At that rally with the Deputy Leader, we got what I would say is a really beautiful picture of the 3 of us, where the passion was so present in Jennifer's eyes for this cause that she believed in. We spoke briefly at that event, and she told us that we had to keep fighting for that museum. It was an issue that was incredibly close to her heart. Much was made of that at her funeral, and I know that given the political sensitivity of that topic, she of course made sure that her daughter was completely unaware of her attendance before it became publicly known, probably via the social media post that John and I posted thereafter. In researching the life of Ms. Cashmore and preparing for this contribution today, I spoke to former Premier of South Australia, Stephen Marshall. He asked that I put in the public record his condolences to Ms. Cashmore's family, saying, and I quote, "Jennifer Cashmore will be remembered as a trailblazer and role model for women in South Australia. Others will remember her astute financial and political instincts. I will remember her as a woman of immense integrity, poise, and conviction. She had the wonderful skill of delivering tough advice, sometimes to me, in a gentle but decisive way." Mr. Speaker, although I had only met Ms. Cashmore once, it is very clear from being able to attend her funeral and from speaking to many of my colleagues, both in the House today and former colleagues, that she was a true leader in the state of South Australia. She was a leader before her time, and she was someone that left a distinct legacy, something that's not always afforded to people who have the privilege of serving in Parliament. She cared for her community, she cared for this state, and above all, she cared and loved her family and friends. She will be sorely missed. To our state, she will be remembered as a trailblazer, not just for women in politics, but for her community and for being able to have the principle and the bravery of standing up for what she believed was right. To Jennifer's family and friends, on behalf of the Liberal Party of South Australia, I extend my sympathies. Valet Jennifer Cashmore.